Hey guys, X-Dudes Buckeye here to talk about the wide receivers and tight end units. Now, just like the offensive line, this is a very, very experienced group, alright? We have studs all over the place that can get it done on and off the field. So right now, we're talking about what they can do on the field. And our starter, #1 wide receiver, of course, Brian Robiskie. He'll be coming into his second year as the #1 receiver. His senior season looking to go out on a good note with a national championship, hopefully. So anyway, obviously you got Brian Robiskie, who had 935 receiving yards last season. Now, I thought he was on pace to get 1,000 yards for sure, to be the first since Michael Jenkins, I believe, to get over the 1,000-yard mark, because I don't believe Santonio Holmes did it, and I know Ted Ginn didn't do it. So we were looking for it. His first 7 games of the season were tremendous. He did a great job, and not that he did a bad job in the other, remaining 5 games of the regular season, but he just didn't produce the kind of way he had in the first 7 games, because they weren't giving the ball much, and people were also starting to double team because they realized how good he was and how fast he was. He's deceptively fast, and that's what I like about him. He's great. So, and then of course you got Brian Hartline, alright? The guy, he's just a great second option. Now, I can't really see him being a #1 guy, but being a #2, I think could be a stud right there. So, obviously it was last year, did a good job, had about, I think it was 600 or 700 yards receiving as being the #2 in Ohio State's offense. And he's always been there. He's always been good. Got great soft hands. That's the thing I like most about him. He's got soft hands. Brian Robiskie's got that deceptive speed. He can blow by you and you don't even know it. But Brian Hartline, he has the soft hands. Also behind him, a guy we saw step up in the spring game, Torian Washington. Wow. What a spring game he had. I was there live for it in Columbus. He caught 2 deep balls for touchdowns. One was called back because of a hold. But him and Joe Bosman hooked up. This guy's got really good speed. And he's not. He came from high school that's not too far away from mine, Orchard Lakes Prep St. Mary's. A very, very competitive athletic school, athletic powerhouse here in Michigan. Then, obviously, you got some backups, okay? Dane Sanzenbacher, you saw some time. You saw him get some time last year. He's good. I think he's in the mold of a Brian Hartline type guy, but I think he's faster than Brian Hartline. I think he's got some good speed. You can tell he's kind of like an Anthony Gonzalez type wideout, if you ask me. A little bit like Brian Hartline, but more like Gonzo. So then, obviously, Ray Small. He's been through some problems in the offseason here. We're hoping to get those straightened and settled out because we need him. He is obviously blazingly fast, just a really fast wide receiver, a fairly good route runner, and if he can get out of Jim Trust's doghouse, he's going to have, I think, a breakout season. He's going to be our punt returner along with Brian Hartline, and I think he really needs to get it together off the field because he could be a stud on the field, and so far in his career, he has been a disappointment, and that's just unfortunate. But, you make decisions and you pay the price for them. Or you reap the benefit. Now, tight end. Obviously, we got 2 tight ends coming back. Mr. Rory Nickel, oh yes, and Mr. Soft-handed Jake Ballard. Now, I always liked Jake Ballard. From the first season, he started as a freshman 2 years ago. He made that amazing catch versus Indiana in the end zone, if you remember that. It was phenomenal. It was great to watch. I was like, this guy is going to be a stud. And then last year, he didn't do all that much because really Ohio State doesn't implement their tight ends in the offense all that much. But I think this year, that's going to change a little bit because we have 2 studs at tight end, Rory Nickel and Jake Ballard, like I said. Now, Nickel, being the 5th-year starter, obviously he's going to be the #1 tight end, obviously. He's a starter. But Jake Ballard, Jr., going to be a solid backup for him. I'm excited to see what this group is going to do, guys. We got the tight ends and the wide receivers that can make the difference in a game. And I believe they will make the difference. I expect great production out of these units. I fully expect Brian Robiskie to go over 1,000 yards, Robo, having a great senior season. Then BH Brian Hartline, I expect him to have at least 700 yards receiving. I think this unit is going to produce a lot for Ohio State and a lot of touchdowns. Obviously, you have Beanie Wells on the ground, banging out, getting those touchdowns, but the wide receivers and tight ends, I think, are going to have a more important role in this year's offense just because they are so talented, and they got to get the ball to your talented players. So we'll see if there's enough ball to get spread around to this amazing offense. Next up, the running backs. You know you want to stick around for that one. I'm out. Ace Deuce Buckeye. See y'all later.